morning. Welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space in my backyard. Today, we're gonna do the last garden tour of 2022. The 2022 garden season was by far the best garden season that I've had so far. I think because I worked on my soil, I think because I planned out my garden, that this was the reason why. Also, just in general, like storing food, I made spaghetti sauce this year. I made hot sauce this year. I made barbecue sauce. I have already preserved so much of the fall garden. I'm so excited. Our first snow is forecasted for the end of this week. And so I'm out here today just kind of looking around, seeing what's going on, seeing if there's anything maybe that I need to do. I fertilized last night. January and February are our coldest months in the winter, and so I know that my time to be out in the garden is coming to an end, and I just wanted to show you all what's left in the garden, what's still growing. The other thing about this year's garden is it's clearing out, but it's clearing out because we're eating it. It's not clearing out because I neglected to take care of it, because my soil wasn't good. It's clearing out because we're eating this food, and I am so excited. So if you are new here, I am Asia. I said that earlier. I have been gardening for 2 years. I started in 2020 when the pandemic came and there was nothing else to do. My daughter loves fresh vegetables. She loves to eat fresh vegetables, and so I was like, well, we could start a garden. I started out with that one garden bed over there, and it has turned into everything that I'm going to show you today. I am in a very small backyard. It is nothing bigger than, a normal plot for a home in the city. And so I'm growing a lot of food back here though. So I hope that this video inspires you. It is not the summer garden, but you can always check out those videos. It's the fall garden, but I'm in zone 7B in Virginia. And so I literally grow food 365 days a year. Let's go ahead and get into this garden tour. Let's start over here. This is where my asparagus was. So if you are newer to the channel, I just cut down the asparagus and threw the ferns over top of the bed. I've done this every year and I have not had a problem. And so the ferns and the sticks have dried out now. But next year, the asparagus will come back, and it will be the first year that I have been able to eat the asparagus in that bed. I cannot wait to taste them. It's been 3 years. Asparagus is a labor of love. You eat it in the 3rd year, but the first 2 years, you just watch it grow and you hope. The second garden bed, which is made out of cinder blocks, I filled this bed with pretty cheap soil when I decided to fill it, and I've been working on it ever since. And this year, I think I have done pretty well. So we have rutabaga, and we still have rutabaga growing. Rutabaga will grow through the winter time, and it can store in the ground. So I'll be leaving the rutabaga out here. These are snapdragons. They are cool season plants. They still, the flowers are going to die back, but the plants will continue to grow. And in spring, they will start to flower again. We have one cabbage. There was a cabbage here. I have since harvested and ate it. Yay! There's another cabbage here with a little bit of damage, but that's to be expected. Not bad as it has been in previous growing seasons. This cabbage is finally starting to head, so I'll leave that. The broccoli, there are 6 broccoli plants. There's one in this row, then there's another row of broccoli plants. I have harvested these broccoli plants and some of the shoots. I'm still gonna leave the plant because there are more shoots starting to pop out, so I'm gonna leave the plant. But all of these are broccoli. This is a broccoli plant that was being shaded horribly for most of the season, but it's starting to grow because we've cut down the rest of the broccoli or harvested it. Back here are the broccoli rabe plants, and so I've harvested them, but they're sending off new shoots too. So I always leave broccoli. I leave broccoli rabe because they're kind of a cut and come again. You get your one big head, but then you can get side shoots, and they have broccoli heads on them as well. And so I always leave them. I'll leave them all the way up until spring when it's time for me to pull the plants, because you can continue to get a harvest off of those. So if you are growing broccoli, don't pull your plant. You can eat off of it as long as it's growing. And in the back, we have Brussels sprouts. And so I'm gonna go through and pull the bottom leaves off of this. Someone said to cut the top off. I may try that with one. I've never successfully grown Brussels sprouts, so just to have them growing is exciting to me, and I don't really want to do anything that may damage them. But since I have 6 plants, I'm thinking I'm going to try it with one, and that way I will know what my best options are when it comes to growing Brussels sprouts, because thankfully I am growing them this year. So the whole back part of this bed is Brussels sprouts. This Brussels sprout was shaded for a large portion of the fall when the weather was still warm. And so I'm not expecting too much out of that one, but I'm still gonna leave it until spring, because maybe in spring it'll start growing again and I will get a second round of Brussels sprouts. Who knows? The flower bed is still looking good. I like the fact that nature has mulched this flower bed for me, because I feel like it probably is giving it the right amount of mulch. Unlike me, I probably would have come in here and threw so many leaves on here. So these calendula, they're not really flowering anymore, but the plants are still here looking pretty good. On the back, the snapdragons aren't really flowering anymore either. And the mums, same thing. But of course, the pansies are still looking beautiful. And like I've said in previous videos, pansies will continue to flower all the way through winter. Someone told me, because I finally decided this could not be borage. Someone said they're foxgloves. So that makes sense, because I did plant foxgloves or threw seeds out or something over here in the spring, and they never did show up. So these may be foxgloves. The hollyhock, still trying to do its thing. I imagine it's gonna die soon though. I think I say something about it every time. There's more calendula down here looking beautiful, and I'm so excited. More snapdragons across the back, still looking good. So going down the other raised bed that's made of cinder blocks, you have more Brussels sprouts, and they are like getting much bigger. So this may be the plant that I try cutting off the top and taking off a lot of the leaves. So we'll see. And then there's more Brussels sprouts down there. The broccoli that we harvested not too long ago, that's that plant, but it's sending out more shoots. Then we still have broccoli growing across this row. These 3 plants are also broccoli. These are the ones that I told you were trying to bulk quickly, but they're sending up side shoots too. So excited to see that. In front of those are Swiss chard. And so I harvest the larger Swiss chard leaves really quickly in the cold season because I want to be able to harvest the leaves. I don't want the cold air and the freezes to take the leaves. So I harvest them pretty early when they're ready to go. So those plants will stay small all winter long, and then in spring I'll start to let them grow bigger. Swiss chards are beautiful plants. Like they're all leaves, but the colors and the way the leaves look, it's just a pretty piece of food. So in front of the Swiss chard, there was cabbage. So that was one cabbage that did not do well, and it has finally died. I'm just leaving it. It'll go back into the soil. There's a cabbage here. Cabbage here. This one is heading up. Looks like a flower. It's kind of pretty. These are calendula, and there's another calendula. Oh, right there. That's a calendula. That's another cabbage right here. There were cabbages here, but we've harvested those and ate them. They were delicious. And we have the turnips that are still growing. We've harvested a lot of turnips this year. So basically they were sown really close together, and so as I harvested the bigger ones, it gave more space to the smaller ones, and so those should start to bulb up, and we should be eating those soon too. So I'm excited about it. Like I'm just really excited about the garden in general this year. It did amazing. Here we have the carrots, and so I planted them in bags this year because I've never really successfully grew carrots, but I'm just gonna dig down really quick. I am successfully, there you go, you see that? Growing carrots this year. And so I'll be growing carrots in bags from here on out. I cannot tell you how many times I tried to grow carrots, get them to germinate. I had a little bit of success one year. They were in a no dig bed, but I believe that the soil under it was not the best soil, and maybe even a bit compacted. So while they were a decent size, and I only got 2 They were bent and forked, and I just find that growing them in bags, which this is my first year, has been my most successful option. Next bed we come to is a bed that has been shaded for a lot of the fall, but it is still growing, and I have harvested. These are collards, these are kale, and then we have quite a few broccoli plants back here. And so broccoli there, broccoli there, broccoli there. Every plant has a small or a decent sized broccoli. This is the one that broke. If you are not new here, you remember this one broke, and I just pushed it back down into the soil, and there we have it. There's broccoli trying to grow. We have kohlrabi back here that probably could be harvested. This one has a hole in it, so I don't know. I'm gonna still harvest it, but that's kohlrabi. There's another small Swiss chard plant in here. Little bit of shade, I'm sure, but we'll be leaving it because in early spring, I can move those. Like if I have something that I need to put there, I can transplant these Swiss chard that are still growing, and they will continue to grow throughout the season until they bolt or whatever happens to them. Same thing goes for the kale. You can just move that. Let's keep moving through the garden tour. So these are the onions that I have in the Vigo garden bed. They are struggling. I do think it is due to my neglect though. I did not fill this bed with as much sifted compost as I filled the other Vigo garden bed with, and I'll show you that in a minute. And so I just feel like it's starting to settle. It's reaching the items that I put at the bottom, and so it is struggling, and that's okay. You want to know why? Because I have onions somewhere else. Here are the other onions. So they were all planted at the same time. You could tell they're a lot greener and a lot taller. So we also have blueberry bush here, and then blueberry bushes over here. This blueberry bush was actually over there. I transplanted it probably a few weeks ago. It seems to be doing just fine. I am excited about that. The garlic is doing amazing. So you can see the garlic. So they've all come up already. And I'm excited about that because I've never successfully grown garlic, but I am hopeful. They are looking much better than any garlic I've started before. And so these are gonna stay in the ground all the way up to probably June, July before we can harvest them. The mint plants that are in these pots, so this is all mint. There's a lemon balm and there is a chamomile over here, but everything is pretty much kind of going dormant. There's a little bit of greenery left in the pots, but that won't last long, especially once it snows. And so then these are feverfew plants that I cut back, but they both have sprouts. So feverfew is perennial. It will come back in the spring. Right here we have a few lingering kohlrabi that's left. This whole side of the bed was full of kohlrabi, but I have harvested and we have eaten it. And then there's two cabbages that were planted out pretty late, but they're still looking good. I have pulled off the lower leaves that were turning yellow, but we're gonna leave those too. And then we have our strawberry bed, which I came through, pulled the runners, gave them a little more space, but that bed's looking good too. Right behind that bed, you have a few more. One extra Brussels sprout plant I had, and it has Brussels sprouts on it. So today I'm gonna come through and pull the leaves off of that. You have cauliflower, which is growing in a cauliflower head. First year successfully growing more than one. There's one in there too. Right beside it is red Russian kale, those 4 plants, blue curled kale, Vates collards, and more cauliflower. This is my largest cauliflower head. I'm so excited, y'all. This one has one too, but it's very small. You can't even see it yet. And now to my favorite bed. It's been my favorite bed all summer, all fall. It literally did like amazing for me, and it was always very pretty, very aesthetically pleasing. And so this is my favorite bed of 2022. So right now this bed is housing kohlrabi at the end. They were shaded pretty bad, but I'm sure they will end up growing. Swiss chard, lacinato or dinosaur kale across the front. I've harvested a good amount of that. And then we have collards all the way down, and another kohlrabi down here, and more Swiss chard. There's also cilantro in this bed, which has grown really well, and I've harvested and dried a lot of that so far this year too. Right beside that bed are artichoke plants. I have not successfully grown an artichoke or a flower, but we'll see what happens. I did mulch this bed with leaves because there's also ranunculus in here, so I didn't want to risk this freezing and losing the ranunculus tubers. And the last bed is, it's not really a bed, it's the orchard area. It's a small orchard area that I have. So it's peach tree on the other side, 2 apple trees down here, grapevine down there, 2 roses, rose there, rose here, lavender here, a white raspberry, which is a very pretty raspberry, although I end up always letting it go red because I forget. There's one strawberry plant that has taken over and there's strawberries everywhere because of the runners, which I'm fine with. This is a parsley. This is an oregano, which is like a mat, y'all. It has grown and it is spreading, which is what I wanted because I want this area to just be full of herbs and trees. This is comfrey. I use it for fertilizing. There's a sage, more parsley down here. There's some thyme down here growing, more comfrey, another oregano that's turning into a mat. There is rosemary back here, more thyme. This is a rosemary, which I always remind you all, I grew it from seed, woo! Comfrey here, more sage. That is the last garden tour of 2022. Hey, look what I got, y'all. You'll be seeing a video on that soon. It was gifted to me from a company. I'm very excited. It's so much bigger. If I am lucky, and it withstands the elements and the weather, that's a very nice greenhouse, but I'll be giving y'all a tour soon. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to leave me a comment. Also, go visit me over on Instagram where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.